This isn't technically a Brit Award, but what I love about you is you call it Mug and Moan. If we were giving out a Brit Award for your of the year, who would win the Danny Dyer Best Door?
There's so many, let's have it right. The world is being run by cranks at the moment, so probably Keir Starmer.
Okay. Let's not turn this into a riot. Okay. Time now to go for a break, but still to come. We're gonna get a little bit messy.
Keir Starmer thought his week had already hit rock bottom, until Danny Dyer burst in like a pub landlord on a rampage. Imagine Shakespeare nursing a hangover with absolutely no tolerance for political rubbish. That's Dyer. He tore into Starmer so fiercely that Labour might be needed to inspect the place for cracks afterward. What triggered him? Politics? Pies? Or maybe Danny's simply the straight-talking legend Britain never realized it was missing. Stay tuned. This roast S sizzling hotter than a Greg S pasty in a summer blaze.
My one rant would be that we must learn now that the people who went to Eton can't run this country. Okay, they've done it, they've tried to do it, and this little small group who all went to the same school in the same class, it doesn't work. So I feel we need some working class people, people that have lived a real life, people that are in touch with what's going on in reality, to maybe come to the front now and start to getting involved in how this country's run.
It was a calm afternoon in Britain. Birds singing, and the faint aroma of an overdone roast drifting by. Then suddenly, like a pint glass hurled across a Wetherspoons after last orders, Danny Dyer crashes onto the scene, striding through the fog of polite political dullness. His mouth's loaded, primed to unleash truth bombs with all the delicacy of a Guy Ritchie car chase.
And, start to getting involved in how this country's run.
Would you ever go into politics full time?
Or imagine.
No, darling, I'm too busy. I've got a game show on at the moment. I've got another podcast with my daughter, and of course, I'm in the greatest soap that has ever been. So I'm all right for the minute. So let's just watch the government unravel themselves, I think, and let's just try and stay safe and just try and not catch this thing. And on the other side, I'm sure we're all going to be better, stronger, more considerate people for it.
And then we have Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, a man so dull he makes oatmeal seem adventurous, the living embodiment of the fine print on a cereal box, a figure so committed to mediocrity that even plain white bread feels outshined. This isn't leadership. It's a walking HR handbook gently coughing before announcing your position's been reorganized.
People do feel that all politicians on Brexit have basically conspired to be incompetent at best and downright reckless at worst. And the country is now heading towards a perilous cliff, and no one really knows what's going to happen when we fall off it.
Well, there's a government that's supposed to be negotiating and spends its time negotiating with itself.
Quite right.
That is the biggest problem.
Exactly. That's the core of the problem. Into this dull Westminster desert walks Danny Dyer, East End philosopher and reigning champion of the common sense comeback. He's packing more genuine honesty than the whole House of Commons manages during Apology Week. No podium, no script, just the raw fury of a man fed up with being ruled by what can only be called a taxidermied shrug.
Who knows about Brexit?
Yeah, quite.
No one's got a fucking clue what Brexit is, yeah? You watch Question Time, it's comedy.
Were you no clearer when Jeremy Corbyn
No,
explained
I ain't got
Labour's
the clue.
policy?
No one knows what it is. It's like this mad riddle that no one knows what it is, right? So what's happened to that David Cameron who called it on? Let's be fair.
I think you're referring to our former Prime Minister.
Yeah, but how comes he can scuttle off? He called all this on.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He has no regrets.
Where is he? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Yeah? Where is the geezer? I think he should be held accountable for it. He should be held accountable for it.
The moment unfolds like peak British theatre. Starmer, somewhere off camera, probably arranging staplers into a motivational pyramid on his desk. Meanwhile, Dyer turns up the volume. Part Geyser monologue, part verbal Molotov. He doesn't even have to mention Starmer by name. The sheer gravity of his contempt does the heavy lifting. It's such a scathing tirade you can almost hear Churchill's ghost mutter, "Bit harsh, mate," from the beyond. Because Dyer isn't merely criticizing, He's landing political punches wrapped in pub banter, sarcasm, and that classic British knack for turning wreckage into a casual tale about his mum's busted kettle. He starts soft, almost polite, like a lion stretching before ruining your afternoon. A jab here, a remark there, wondering whether Starmer's backbone is sunbathing in the Algarve or simply never showed up. Then bam, like a $5 kebab after 12 pints, the impact hits full throttle. Dyer isn't just mocking policies, he's questioning the man's entire identity as a leader. And to be fair, Starmer offers plenty of material. He operates on a wavelength only dogs and hesitation can tune into. Leadership? More like a legally distinct disappointment wearing a suit. As Britain stumbles from one crisis to the next, Keir seems convinced that saying nothing somehow counts as strategy. That silence itself might look statesmanlike.
It's Starmer's ego which cancelled Rwanda, and now he's doing the same here. It just doesn't make sense. And for him saying, smashing the gangs, he couldn't smash the top off his Easter Cadbury's egg this Easter.
Oh, but you've been saving that one up for a while.
No, but it's true. And look about this. Where is, as usual, with Keir Starmer, where's the detail? Where's the strategy? Where's the targets? He needs to stop acting like an out-of-work barrister and give us some detail.
Enter Danny. Pure football dad energy on overdrive, asking if the nation somehow voted for a screensaver. A walking, talking void. A prime minister who can walk into a room and make it feel even emptier. It's like electing the very idea of risk avoidance. Dyer skips past policies and dives straight into character, or what little there is beneath 6 coats of politically cautious beige. He doesn't need numbers, he's powered by fire while Starmer weighs every syllable like he's applying for a loan. Dyer talks like a bloke who's just stubbed his toe and suddenly realized, yes, the system's broken. And also, who keeps leaving Legos on the floor. He paints Starmer not as a villain, but worse, as a forgettable extra in his own political show. It's the kind of takedown that makes wallpaper peel. Dyer doesn't just criticize, he dismantles. Starmer's so-called vision feels more like a looping screensaver, floating politely over real problems like a ghost too timid to haunt. The Prime Minister says he wants to unite the country. But around what? A synchronized yawn? Meanwhile, Danny speaks the language of the exasperated. No Polish, no filter. Just raw working-class anger, delivered with the poetic sting of a man sick of watching his government turn into one giant beige loaf of bureaucratic bread.
Outside of this place, temperatures continue to plummet, energy bills continue to rise, and the winter fuel allowance has been unacceptably taken away from so many vulnerable pensioners. Now, the Prime Minister intimated prior to Christmas that he had no regrets about any of the decisions that he has taken in office. Does he understand that the public do?
He paces, mentally, verbally, maybe even physically, through every clumsy misstep Starmer's made. The hesitation, the haze of half-baked policies, that unique gift for saying everything yet absolutely nothing. It's like watching someone attempt to eat soup with a fork. Impressive effort, zero outcome. And then there's the economy, or whatever remains of it. Starmer proudly calls himself the steady hand. The problem? It's the kind of steady hand that keeps you circling over Luton for 3 hours before landing in a swamp of austerity-flavored optimism. Dyer doesn't pull punches. He wonders if the Prime Minister believes growth is something that only happens on sourdough. Healthcare? Ah, yes. Starmer's grand plan, to maybe act someday once a committee's committee has met about forming a subcommittee. Dyer rips into this like a hungover bloke devouring a sausage roll. Why is the NHS treated like a raffle prize? Why do government policies read like the back of a shampoo bottle? Vague, dull, and guaranteed to cause irritation, but the real brilliance lies in Dyer's rhythm, that relentless, magnificent tempo of destruction. No pauses, no balance, just a storm of sarcasm in motion. He's Britain's own Greek chorus. If the chorus had tattoos, a pint of Stella in each hand, and zero interest in subtlety.
They used to say this was the moment he became Prime Minister. And then he'd go and fluff it all up again by doing one of his usual disgraces. But that was a moment that I think the country needs. Tread more lightly on our lives. A government of service. And by remarkable coincidence, at the central thrust of the speech addressing directly what we were talking about at 10 o'clock this morning, which was the urgency of restoring trust, not in his party or himself or even his office as Prime Minister, but restoring trust and faith in politics.
By the time he reaches Starmer's so-called charisma, what little there is, the gloves are completely off. Danny doesn't just label him dull, he turns boredom into an art form. He paints Starmer as the kind of bloke who'd narrate his own dreams in Excel, the sort who walks into a party and instantly increases the room's gravity. A politician so mechanical that Elon Musk might sue for intellectual property theft. And charisma? Starmer's got all the commanding presence of a soggy biscuit at a rave. He could stroll into a burning building and people would assume he's there to inspect the fire safety policy. Dyer cuts through it all with surgical precision, musing whether Britain accidentally elected the living version of a shrug emoji. His anger isn't loud. It's that low, simmering, unmistakably British rage, the kind your granddad feels when someone ruins a decent cup of tea. Danny's delivery plays like half performance art, half national therapy session for a country politically gaslit for more than a decade. Through it all, he never grants Starmer the slightest benefit of the doubt. Because honestly, what's more British than holding a grudge against someone for being exactly who they said they were? He breezes past Starmer's past, gives his record a mild roast, but completely destroys his aura. Dyer's not fussed about official statements. He's furious that the man leading Britain radiates the energy of a middle manager reciting safety rules at a wedding.
We're so dispossessed of our own culture when we walk through our own high streets. We don't see our own country. What else is it? Is it the fact that British identity...
What do you see then?
What do I see?
Well, when you're walking down the high street, you say, I don't see my own country. What do you see?
I see a country that has been so poorly governed for really as long as I've been alive, that it has been essentially the inheritance of the country that was built, cultivated by my ancestors, has been given away to anybody who would come here, and the government has been the midwife to that project. And I think that it's only going to lead to destruction. Down the street,
you have very strange eyesight, I would say.
Well, I don't know if you've been to a town like Swindon recently, Ian.
Fun enough,
What did you think of it?
About 2 months ago.
Well, there we go. And what did you think when you were walking down the high street, when you saw the graffiti, the litter, the boarded up shops, and the...
That's aesthetic.
And you blame that on immigrants, do you?
I don't blame it on immigrants. I blame it on the government, who has permitted this incredibly destructive policy of mass migration.
And then comes the sheer absurdity of it all. The unbelievable reality that Britain, once an empire ruling half the globe, is now led by a man who makes grey suits seem colorful. Dyer nails it perfectly, like a Shakespearean jester with a Cockney twang, reminding everyone this isn't leadership, it's theater, bad theater, the kind with no funding, flickering lights, and a lead actor who keeps forgetting his lines. When a bloke like Dyer stops pretending to care, you know something's gone spectacularly wrong inside the House of Beige that Starmer calls a government. Danny Dyer isn't a political analyst. He's not holding a clipboard from a focus group, and you won't find him practicing talking points in the mirror while sipping oat milk lattes. He's the guy yelling at the TV with chips on his lap, and somehow he makes more sense than half of Westminster in tailored suits. And this isn't his debut performance. Starmer may be the newest target, but he's far from the first. Dyer's fury has always been an equal opportunity flamethrower. He roasted Boris like a Christmas turkey drowning in dodgy gravy. David Cameron? Let's just say Dyer burned him so thoroughly that Tories started Googling, "Can you sue someone for vibes?" And Rishi? Bless him, Dyer didn't even need a full rant. Just one look, a sigh, and a few perfect syllables. And Sunak's approval ratings plunged faster than the pound after a Liz Truss press conference.
I'd like to take you down to the pub, but of course you're going to close them early.
This is
nonsense. You told us on July the 4th you would tread lightly. We're going to have junk advert bans. I won't be able to smoke outside Twickenham. I know you don't, but you won't be able to smoke outside the Arsenal. And I can't even take you down the pub, or we have to leave early. So Keir.
This is not government policy. I'm glad that you are the first to get this from me. This is not government policy.
Right.
We are not going.
What makes Dyer's fury so powerful is that he's not trying to become a political figure. He's not here to play chess with policy experts. He's here to call the entire game rubbish. And he does it with the accuracy of a sledgehammer. No press team polishing his words. No media plan. No spare blazer for better lighting. He shows up carrying the emotional weight of a man who's just seen his local pub turned into a gluten-free candle shop. Raw, untamed, furious. That's why people pay attention. While Starmer's speeches land with the excitement of soggy Weetabix, Dyer sounds like the mate you'd want on your pub quiz team. Not because he's got every answer, but because he's got stories, fire, and the nerve to flip the table if someone dares say Tony Blair was misunderstood. This isn't policy analysis. It's performance art, soaked in frustration, wrapped in authenticity, and deep-fried in righteous anger. He's the accidental truth-teller, the Joe Rogan of Britain. If Rogan swapped mushrooms for Stella and MMA for shouting at politicians. Dyer belongs to a long-standing British tradition, the furious working-class philosopher who looks around, exhales deeply, and asks, "What on earth is happening here?" He's not trying to be Orwell. He's more like Billy Connolly with rage issues and absolutely zero patience for red tape.